So some of you may have noticed on Friday I made a video about my E3 2017 wish list, an Ode to a .hack re-release, and it was called that because entries 10 through 2 were all .hack games. Number 1 was Mother 3, but that's neither here nor there. And I did this because an HD re-release of any .hack game and Mother 3, those are always at the top of my wish list for any kind of gaming confirmation event. So I guess it was meant as a joke because I didn't think that it would actually happen. But apparently I must be some kind of a god or something because my video must have summoned a .hack GU HT release. But to the great surprise and great sheer delight of many, it actually happened this year. And to say that I'm excited is the understatement of the century. I don't know if you've noticed the makeover I've put on my Twitter account, but I'll let that say all it needs to. In any case, so I'm making this video to talk about all the information we do know about the re-release so far. I want people to be excited for this. I want people to know what's going on. I want this to be really successful because I love .hack, and more than anything, I would love to see it make a comeback, especially here in the States, because I live in the States. And because English-speaking .hack fans have just also generally had nothing to work with, because these games are so impossible to obtain. So here is everything we know about the .hack GU re-release so far. It was only announced about 2 days ago, so there's not very much we know, but I'll go over everything. I'm getting most of my information from Gamatsu. They seem to be the only website with a really thorough translation of the whole spread that was in Famitsu, so I'll have a link to my source in the description. So the big reveal was made in a weekly Famitsu magazine in Japan. It's being called .hack GU Last Recode, and it's an HD remastering of the .hack GU trilogy. In other words, yes, the entire trilogy is going to be on here. Last Recode is going to be available for PS4 and PC. There has been no release window of any kind stated, but it was said that it is about 80% finished, so I think it's pretty safe to assume that we will probably see this out in Japan by the end of the year. Speaking of being out in Japan, we know it's coming out in Japan, but we don't know where else this is coming out. I think it's pretty reasonable to believe that it will get an English localization because at its core this is basically an HD remastering, but I don't want to get my hopes up too high only to see it get the Mother 3 or .hack link treatment, which I wouldn't like, obviously, but I don't want to deny that possibility. We have not had any confirmation yet of any kind whether or not this will come out in English. So make sure and tweet at Bamco that y'all want to see this come out in America. Let's make sure they know that we really want this because they seem to not like .hack releases very much. But let's get into the differences. What is going to be different about this game from the regular GU? Well, obviously, as the phrase HD might imply, the graphics are getting very upgraded. It's going to be in 1080p, it's going to run at 60 frames per second, the cutscenes are going to be in high resolution, and the backgrounds are going to have much more detail. It seems like a lot of the menus and the UIs are going to be much more streamlined, so they'll probably look a bit different. There's going to be a retry feature added, movement speed, the speed of battles, and the speed of Skaith's bullets in the avatar battles are going to be faster. How much faster, we don't know, but we can take from that this game is probably just going to be much faster in general. There's going to be an auto mode. Gamatsu says play with your strongest levels and equipment, so I don't know exactly what that means, but what I'm hoping that means is some kind of Earthbound-esque, you know, if you go to a low-level area and you are ridiculously stronger than an enemy, that they'll either avoid you entirely or you'll just win automatically, but I don't know if that's a fact or not. The maximum number of items you can possess is now going up to 90, and the maximum number of chim spheres and virus cores you can have is now 999. Thank God. There's gonna be a feature to let you use the same item over and over again. That's gonna be really convenient, I can already tell. The equipment UI is gonna be much more streamlined. New recovery method Leisurely Break added to the platform, available in early stages. I don't know what that means. I don't know what this does, but that's what Gamatsu says. When you want to add Sakubo to your party, you can choose whether you want Saku or Bo. I'm assuming that means for times when you're just adding them to your party just because and not for story reasons. The decreased probability of allies selling your items that you give them. I didn't even know that they sold them in the first place. That's news to me. Improvements made in Volume 2 and 3 have been applied to Volume 1. Now, when I hear this, the first thing I think of is that you cannot customize your allies' equipment in Volume 1. I have no idea why why it's only in Volume 1 that you can't do this, but I'm really glad that they took note of that and that they are finally making everything even. Instead of acquiring experience points to get better with a weapon, you're going to have weapons proficiency instead, so I'm really interested to see how that goes. You can skip the Avatar Awakening scenes. Some of the tough enemies have been made a bit easier. I don't know about you, but when I hear this, the first thing I think of are those little birds that show up every now and again. You know, the ones that you have to take out a bar of their health while they're in the air before you can even start hitting them on the ground. Those things are such a pain in the ass, so I really hope that means them. Let me know what other enemies you think you'd like to see made a bit easier, because for me, honestly, it's just those birds that really get on my nerves. The balance of the Avatar battles has been revised. I think this is a godsend because a lot of the time, Avatar battles, for me at least, were either childishly easy or they are some of the hardest things in the entire trilogy, so I'm really, really glad that they are revising the difficulty. There's going to be a suspend feature during Avatar battles, thank the Lord, and probably my favorite change they've noted yet is that in Volume 3, the marriage event you can do if you have someone's affection high enough, you can now do it with multiple characters. As long as you have their affection high enough, you no longer have to choose one and stick with that one, so that is wonderful. You can finally have all the marriage events in one save file. That makes me so happy. Right now, the biggest mystery, other than the release date and whether or not this is gonna come out in any country but Japan, is that in Gematsu, it twice mentions a quote, Haseo you don't know. I'm hoping that this is setting up maybe a sequel, either specifically to GU or maybe a brand new main series .hack game in general. It's about time, it's been about a decade. My main guess is that maybe they're trying to set up for the next series entry into .hack. They did mention that they have other projects going on, and that maybe the person behind Haseo will be involved in this, but he will be using a character other than Haseo. So I guess we'll find out about this. I'm wondering if this also means possibly another character in general. Maybe we'll see some direct links to him being Sora from .hack Sign. I have no idea. Be sure and leave your predictions in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys think this is going to be, because I have not a clue in the world. But let's take a minute and talk about the things we don't know. Again, we don't know whether or not this is going to come out outside of Japan, we don't know when this is going to come out, and we don't know what this Haseo you don't know thing is. Now, most importantly, I think what we don't know is whether or not the Infection series is going to see the same treatment. I, for one, really hope it does, but we have no guarantee right now. We have heard nothing about it in years. We also don't know whether or not this means there's going to be a new anime to go with it. Maybe a sequel to Roots, maybe a sequel to Quantum, maybe we're going to see a new movie. We don't know if we're even gonna see an anime in the first place. There has been nothing mentioned about an anime thus far. We haven't seen any screenshots, so even though they're saying they're going to up the graphics quality, we don't know exactly what that's going to look like quite yet. We haven't seen any gameplay demos. There's a lot we don't know right now, but again, this game was only basically just announced. So that's everything we know so far about the .hack GU re-release, .hack GU Last Recode. Again, I know this isn't much, but it's the most we've seen in more than a decade, so I'll take what I can get. Anything to make .hack relevant again, I'm all for it. Especially if it means I can see the entrance wedding in HD. No, but for real, Endrin's best girl. Alcade's a close second, though.